if you don't already have somebody who's coaching you in a space that understands your technology, you're already in a backwards position.
So joining me on the line today, I've got Kelvin Holliday from Transformational Hub. Welcome to the call, Kel.
Thank you, Dave. Great to be here, buddy.
Yeah, awesome. Maybe tell us a bit about what Transformational Hub's all about.
I think at the core, we really are about productivity. These days, time is money, they say. So we are about trying to make the most of everybody's time. And as business owners, we get into business ourselves to find freedom and time. So yeah, that's basically what we do, is to help them with the productivity side of things and make it happen.
Yeah, fantastic. So let me ask you, in the current economy, the way things are with all the lockdowns popping in and out and the constraints on business, what are you finding are the sort of frustrations that people are facing and the things you're hearing about the people?
There's the obvious ones around the financial management and how cash flow is going. That's always a normal thing. But more intrinsic in business these days is their systemization of what are they built into their systems, particularly around going remote. So a lot of offices were closing down. Yep. Everybody was going out into home-based. And so that remote sort of philosophy has become a real challenge, particularly in the early parts of the last 18 months.
Yeah.
But I think that's something that a business should have already considered, not so much that they have to go outside of their office, but how do they communicate and store and do things that is efficient so they get that efficiency and productivity happening. So I think that's probably the number one thing that's really been glaring, obviously, to me.
But you said that's sort of being managed by a lot of people now because they're used to this in and out, up and down, left and right, stop and start. What do you see as the next trend that the business owners should be looking at right now? What are the things they should be focused on?
Look, I think it's how you do business. Your business systems, like all business owners, I'm sure it's been like yourself when you first get started, everything's trapped in here. And so we get stuck in our business. We heard it in conversations I've had with yourself. We get caught working in the business rather than on the business. That's intrinsic problems that we're having. And business owners, if they can get outside of that and start to get that overview perspective, that's really where they need to be going. And they're the trends that I'm seeing internationally. It's been happening in other countries for a long time. Australia's a little bit slow in adopting some of the new technologies that are around, or they become technology overloaded. Right? So it's either one or the other. They've got nothing or they got too much. And I think there's a really fine balance between what exactly does a business need, what does a person still need to do, and what does technology need to do.
It's interesting. One of the things that I've observed is that we've had forced innovation over the last year and a half, and people have been implementing technology at a rate nearly 10 times what they're used to. It's causing people to do things which they didn't want to do before, having Zoom meetings all day, like making sure their business serves online, making sure that they can take orders online, making sure they can click and collect, all these sorts of things, right? And it caused a bit of blowout because some people are saying this is all temporary. When everything goes back to normal, we'll all be good. And there's two kinds of changes I've seen in the market. One is cyclic, like the weather. It gets hot, gets cold, gets hot. And the other one's structural. And I think the structural change that's occurring is for a lot of business owners, the way they did business 2 years ago will never come back. Okay. And I think being online is not negotiable anymore. It has to be both. It's not online or offline. It's actually both. I think the consumer's expectation is much higher too about immediate response. If you go to a website and you make a request or you express interest in a product, the expectation now, I think, is that you get a call within 10 minutes.
Absolutely. And it's that sort of technology. And it's also, this term, like it's coming up more and more. People want it one click. They want fast. Not only is they want to be able to do it online, they want to have it fast online, that it's easy and they don't have to think about it too much.
Yeah.
And if you can get your message across fast, but I really see, I think this current environment, in my opinion, all it's done is fast forwarded our future.
Yeah.
It was always heading towards almost a fully online sort of structure. And it's just 18 months of fast forward. And that's what it's done to us. And it's made us actually have to catch up to where some countries have already been there for a long time.
And so really, I suppose if we were looking to the general business owner in Australia right now, what's the direct advice you'd be giving them?
You've got to get, if you don't already have somebody who's coaching you in a space that understands your technology, you're already in a backwards position. Like I call it it's almost like an Amazon. If we don't want to use one, we've got an Amazon sort of future, like one's place to get things. That's what we're really competing with these days. And if we don't catch up as an individual business and actually have that, we will be left behind by some of these big guys. And some people don't want to go to the BI. They still want to have a bit of individualism in it. They want a personality behind it rather than a brand. So getting that balance between personality and relationship, people don't want to lose the relationship, which is where Zoom, that's been a really good thing, even better than a phone call. So we can still see that body language. We can still see ugly mugs like this occasionally, and we makes us feel good. But that's the reality. It's that balance. There's that real balance of relationship that's still required inherently within humanity against how do we actually do it technologically and fast.
Yeah. And I think that's the interesting sort of comment you just made there. It's not black or white. It's not you need to get online. It's you need to use online as part of your service delivery. And you need to understand, like, one of the biggest consequences of all these lockdowns has been people's realization that they need to social.
Yes.
And it's not just having a phone call, it's literally having a social experience, talking to multiple people, being able to be a fly on the wall and listen to other people's conversations, those sorts of things got all stripped away. And so now we're starting to realize the importance of socialization in business. I think we're realizing the importance of that in terms of sanity, people keeping their minds.
Exactly.
And the question is then, how do you implement that through the technology, and how do you move forward and really navigate this? I think there's another point I just want to quickly touch on is I think that it's not even about pivoting. That word was used a lot at the start. We need to shift. And it's sort of, I think it's more about being adaptable, because the market changes a lot. And we used to do planning. Like, part of our coaching is that we do planning with our clients. And we do annual planning and we do quarterly planning. And we've been doing that for nearly 20 years. And we changed the frequency to 60-day planning, because we found 90 days was too much happens in 90 days. There's too much change going on in 90 days. So usually it's only the first 2 months that people are getting use out of the plan. And then the last month it's redundant already. So this ability to adapt, I think, is one of the pivotal sort of skill sets that a business owner must have right now, is so they can just, when something changes, they just move with it quickly. What's your thoughts on that?
Look, I agree. I think if we just really analyze just something like Facebook. Now, Facebook's been around for a long time. When it first started, it was all text. Everybody text. And then we started putting pictures up. And then we started putting video on. Then it was and so there was an evolution in that process that people just seen, if you weren't putting video on, your text messages were never getting read. That cycle, that there happened over about a 3 to 4 year period. Now, what's come next over this last 18 months is absolutely phenomenal. All right. So you don't have to understand Facebook to know that you're getting a lot more stuff coming through your feed. That's, you go, how the heck do they do that? And that's what I look at as a business owner and in that consultancy sort of area. How is that done? Because it's just going at such a blistering pace. And so that's where I've stepped in, and having the right sort of technology tools, balance between technology and people is phenomenal. It is phenomenal. I just seen an article just the other day. There's over 1 million apps available in an iOS system now. A million. I'm going, what? Like, CRMs. There's 270 CRMs on the market out there. That doesn't include the standard one, the industry standard ones. Like your real estate industry specific sort of CRM. So, like, there's just such a variety. And so much to choose from. It's actually now getting confusing. And this is an interesting thought as well with this over-information. People just don't know where to look anymore. And it used to be you had to find an expert to get some advice on specific things. And if you didn't know someone, you have to know someone and use someone. These days, you pull out your phone and you Google it, and you've got 1 million answers to almost any question you can possibly think of. So curating that information becomes quite challenging, doesn't it? It's almost like noise. It is, and it's noise. And the reality is that I think you've got to actually start to filter for yourself. Wherever you're getting that advice from, you've got to ask yourself as well, what's their benefit in it? If you don't actually have that in the back of your mind, you're still not getting sometimes the true result. So I use the old Coke, Pepsi. So people who like Coke will always say Coke's better. People who like Pepsi will say Pepsi's better, and you can't get one to change to the other. And it's the same thing with technology. Whoever's got the biggest buy-in or the biggest voice will be the one that actually gets the sale. And sometimes, and I think that's a big thing to our listeners, is you could have the best product in the world and the best service in the world, but if nobody knows about it, you won't be successful. Getting that balance between being very successful and then being having a good quality service and and a good quality product or service.
Yeah.
There's a massive balance in that. And so how do you get that right?
Yeah, fantastic.
So,
Awesome. We could talk for hours, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to ask you, Kel, to do me a favor. Give me the top 3 things that you would suggest to a business owner in today's environment that you think they need to be looking at right now based on today's...
I would say look internally. All right. Look at yourself. Put yourself in the mirror and say, what are the things that I need to learn? All right. So that self-leadership is huge. Then it's the technology. All right. So how do you pare back and stop saying, I want more technology? How do you pare it back and say, I just need this to be successful? And then empower your people to do it. And I think if you can get the clear mind to get that done, get the tools in your hand. Winston Churchill, give me the tools and I'll get the job done. Right? Get the right tools in your hand rather than having a whole bucket load. A couple will do the job, and then just get into it. It's really a three-phase process in my mind all the time.
Yeah, awesome. Kel, look, thanks so much for your time today. I really enjoyed the conversation. Some really good insight there, so thank you.
Pleasure.
Cheers.